David Godber, welcome to the University of Huddersfield.
Thank you very much indeed. Pleasure to be here.
David, you're now Group CEO of the award-winning brand design consultancy Elmwood. You're the former Deputy Chief Executive of the Design Council, and you've also worked an illustrious career, I believe it's been described, in the car industry with the likes of Lotus and Audi. You have been quoted, particularly when you were at the Design Council, as saying that you love design.
I do.
Why, you were passionate about it. It was there in spades, was the quote. Why do you love design? What is it?
So design touches everything. If you look at industry, if you look at the world we live in, if you look at the furniture we sit on, if you look at the buildings we exist within, if you look at food, if you look at energy, design touches everything. Every product, every industry, every service, every piece of clothing that you wear. So it starts with an idea, it starts with a concept, a brief, it starts with design. It may go through materials, it may go through engineering, it may go through manufacturing, it may go through delivery, through supply chain logistics, through sales, marketing, distribution. But unless design was that initial spark, it doesn't exist.
And do you feel that design is taken on board with as much enthusiasm as you have for it by business, industry, and indeed the government generally?
Some is the answer to that. How many chief creative officers do you see? How many chief design officers do you see? You see CEOs, executives, you see CFOs, financial, you see O's, operations. But marketing, sales, they all have chiefs. Design doesn't, in the majority. Certain companies that have embraced design, the likes of Google, the likes of Apple, some of the brands like Nissan, where I was working previously, they have chief creative officers, and that's the reason design's important to them. You can see it.
You're now with Elmwood. The university has a long collaboration history with Elmwood. Jonathan Sands in particular, he's a professor of innovation here. What do you hope to bring to Elmwood?
So I think,
where would you like to move it to?
So my background, I'm an economist by training, bizarrely. Spent a lot of time in R&D, spent a lot of time with businesses that were wanting to grow, wanting to internationalise, globalise. And really, if I take Lotus was an acquisition previously by Proton, the Malaysian car company, as a technology centre. Nissan was, in its history, technically insolvent, bankrupt. And actually there was a huge turnaround project that's well documented with Nissan. So I cut my teeth really with the economics and the business of R&D, of design, of growth, business growth. And really the same applies to Elmwood, and I've known Jonathan for 6 or 7 years since I took my sabbatical with the Design Council. I learned a lot there. I learned a lot about the political system, the economic system, the social system, technologies, and how they can all be brought together to have effect on people's lives. Jonathan is an incredible character, visiting professor here at Huddersfield, as you say. He spent 25 years building some of the most significant brands on the planet, and really what he's provided me with is a huge playground and a huge opportunity to work with those companies and that client base, which is global, to take some of those skills to assist them in their growth, while at the same time growing Elmwood itself.
You're here today to talk to our students about the innovations in the car industry. You were in the car industry for many, many years. What innovations do you foresee in the coming years?
Well, interestingly, it's going to be, I think, a fascinating discussion with the students themselves, because to my mind, the car industry has failed to innovate significantly over many years. We can talk about electric vehicles, but we had milk floats many years ago. We can talk about low mass structures. Well, the aerospace industry has been doing that for years. We can talk about monocoques. We can talk about R.J. Mitchell and the Spitfire. We can talk about McLaren's carbon fibre monocoques and materials technology changes. But the principles are still the same. I think what's going to be interesting today is we're going to be talking about innovation in market models. If you take the likes of Zipcar, if you take Streetcar, different service models, that's where a lot of the innovation is taking place. And if we look at perhaps some of the economics in business in the last few years, the car industry makes single-digit profits. Ocado was the largest single performing equity in Europe last year, which is a logistics company, which is transportation related, about the fresh supply of food. So I think we'll be taking different views, different angles, and looking at innovation in different places, because actually in terms of the machine itself, there's not much to be had.
And why do you think the car industry has moved so slowly? I mean, for an industry that technology is sort of the cornerstone of its reason to be, Why doesn't why doesn't it move far faster? Are there
That's a good
politics,
question.
economics involved?
It's a good question. So innovation really, to my mind, in economic terms, only happens for two reasons. One is necessity, and largely automotive is a perfect market. It's efficient, it's global. Many businesses have failed, many businesses like Tesla have emerged. But actually necessity is driven by governments, by tax, by key economic drivers like CO2 emissions. So driving down CO2 emissions causes car companies to respond together to meet that challenge. But if you take Schumpeter's economics, you've only really got a very short life of that monopoly of an innovation before everybody else has to catch up anyway. An opportunity in terms of if somebody can own a market space ahead of the competition, then they can own that space for a period of time and make those super profits. But the manufacturing business that is the car industry is a manufacturing business. It isn't a financial services business. It has different liquidity, it has different characteristics. So again, some of the innovations exist in other places which have better returns.
The University of Huddersfield, inspiring tomorrow's professionals.